Fall in love with problems, not solutions. So what does that mean? I'm going to tell you a story. This is Kimberly Clark. I've done a lot of work with Kimberly Clark, so I want to bring to life a story. It's actually in my book as well as an illustration of really taking kind of an innovative idea and really kind of taking leadership and ownership in a big company to push it through, to influence, and to actually create real value because of the stewardship you take on your own innovation. So I'm going to share with you what that looks like. So Kimberly Clark has done a bunch of these, they call them expert innovation sessions. Basically, they come up with these topic areas, and they bring in outside experts and kind of do brainstorming. And these are subject matter experts, but they're kind of from kind of market areas as well as technology areas. They're really trying to combine a lot of different pieces together. Now, one of the sessions was on, obviously moms are important to Kimberly Clark. They've got a lot of kids-related, diapers, Huggies, and other things. And so moms are an important target for them. So one of the people we brought into the innovation session was a woman named Maria Bailey. She has this radio show. It's called Mom Talk Radio. It's got millions of listeners. It's kind of a blog that she's got. And so we brought her in, and we basically had a question for her, which was completely the wrong question, but we asked it anyway. And we said, okay, what do moms want? What products can we create? Tell us what moms want. And she said, you guys are asking the wrong question. I said, that's why you're here. Tell us what the question is we should be asking. And so she said, the question you should be asking is, how can you innovate with moms around the things that they are seeing? So when a lot of you raised your hands, right? And I said you have kids. Did your lives change at all when you had your first kid? Like a little bit, maybe? So what we learned is that there's a whole group of women out there, and they call them mompreneurs. Okay, so what's a mompreneur? Mompreneur is somebody who has a child and then sees the world a little bit differently because there's new messes to clean up. There's new sounds to manage. There's different issues that come up. It changes your life. You have a new lens, a new perspective. You've brought in your focus. So what mompreneurs do then is they actually innovate and create products to solve their own problems or their friends' problems. That's a mompreneur. Now, sometimes these mompreneurs, their products go big. Other times they have a great idea, but they're not necessarily savvy with business, or they don't know how to create a startup, and so there's some opportunities possibly to partner. So that's what Steve Paljig was kind of the one who took this idea and said, and he was in their innovation group, which was not in a business. It was outside of the business. It was kind of straddling R&D in the business. It was more of a kind of a specialized group within Kimberly Clark. And he basically said, this is a great idea. I don't know what to do here, but I think we should do something. And so he came up with this concept that he wanted to basically kind of do an open call for proposals from moms about products that they wanted to create. And if they could do that, then maybe they could fund some of these products. Kind of an interesting concept. And he thought, we can get Maria Bailey to publicize this, and we'll get a bunch of ideas. So what happened was, he brings that idea to marketing group and Huggies, because he thought that might be where it fit. And they said, well, that's kind of interesting. We'll get back to you. We're not really sure about this. So then he knew that he needed to get legal involved, because if you're getting ideas, and so legal basically said, are you kidding me? We don't want ideas from outside. Legal, sorry legal if you're here, but the idea was that there's risk associated with taking ideas. What happens if somebody submits an idea, you don't use it, and then 3 or 5 years later, some other group that never even heard of that idea does something that's related to that idea? Could there be liability there? So essentially, Steve went to all these different groups and got all these different objections about why this will never work and we shouldn't do it. Well, each time Steve got an objection, he created kind of a business case. It was 1 page. 1. And each time he got an objection, he'd sit down with legal and say, how can we overcome that barrier? Write it down, and he'd update his one-pager. Then he'd go over to Huggies again. How can we make sure this doesn't dilute the brand but supports it? Okay, let's update. He went around about 8 different groups, and each time he built upon that one-pager. So today, Huggies Mom Inspired gives $15,000 to a dozen recipients every year. They've had thousands of submissions. The mom has to have a business that she's already created, has to have the product. She submits the the award application. If they like it, they'll give them $15,000 with only one string attached, which is if the mom ever decides to sell the business, Kimberly-Clark has the first right of refusal to buy it. So they've gotten dozens and dozens of products. So Allison Phillips is one of the first recipients. I'm going to share with you her product to give you an idea about the power of this kind of open model. Sippy cup. Anybody ever use a sippy cup? You still use those yourselves? It makes it easy to. So Allison Phillips got an award because she noticed that her daughter and her friends' children were basically sitting, they could sit up at 9 months, whatever. They were taking the sippy cup, and as you drink a sippy cup, you tilt your head back, and to get all of the liquid out of a sippy cup, you actually have to go like this, right? So you're kind of, whatever, 180 degrees, 90 degrees. And so you go like that, and these kids would do that and then fall over, right? They just boom and start crying. So it was like traumatic to drink out of a sippy cup. So what she decided to do is she said, I'm going to invent something that makes it easy, simpler. And she did. And Kimberly-Clark gave her $15,000 to start this business called Tilty Cup. Now what this is it's basically a cup that has everything other than the orange is actually solid. So the liquid is just in that little trough there. And so when a child drinks, their head basically can go like this. Does this look familiar? This is kind of like how real people drink, right? Just like that, and be done with their drink. So you kind of think, well, that's interesting. The American Pediatrics Association has basically credited Tilty Cup with accelerating the motor skills development of children because they can learn to drink like real human beings faster. That came out of this innovation session where we asked the wrong question, where we got the right question to ask, where Steve then shopped around that idea, influenced his way into trying this out. Now they have the right to buy that if she ever decides to sell it, and it's going great. This has gone international. It's become the first time it went out. Moms Talk to Moms had 50 million web impressions. It's been an incredible brand builder for Huggies and an engine for new product development for technology R&D. So that's an example of influence. It's an example of looking outside. It's an example of broadening focus. It's an example of taking risks. It's a wonderful example of a lot of different dimensions to what it means to create kind of the environment that allows you to try things out and succeed.